Hello and welcome back to another KCC video. I'm Rob, and today we'll be jumping into some malicious compliance. Our first story today comes to us from Luther Williams. Accused by salesperson of forgery? Awesome, your service is canceled. Let's jump right in. I used to be a sales manager for a B2B services company. We provided a service to business. Unlike a lot of companies, we would not auto-renew a client service unless they signed a new contract. The contracts were generally for 1 to 3 years. All our contracts were signed on an iPad that recorded the GPS coordinates of where the document was signed, and we emailed the client a copy of the agreement instantly. And in the email, we basically said, if you disagree with this contract or would like to make changes, contact us within 5 business days. If you don't, we will move forward and bill accordingly. In addition, one of the cancellation terms in the contract was dishonesty. If the client could prove we were dishonest, they had a right to cancel without penalty. If the client acted dishonestly, we had the right to cancel their contract with us. There was a client that was actually quite a small account, but always proved to cause a lot of headaches for my reps. I remember calling the rep and going over the commission issues I've seen with this client, and I stressed, get the signature on the iPad in his office. I also stressed that if the client wanted to cancel, let him cancel, because he's proven to be very difficult to work with. Salesman went to the sales call, signature was signed, client service was executed according to the terms of the contract. 4 months later, I get an email from a customer service rep. The client is claiming that my salesman forged the client's signature. I did my due diligence before calling the client. I checked where the newest contract was signed. It was signed in the client's place of business via the iPad. I compared the signature on the newest contract to the many signatures on the numerous contracts we had on file. With the same signer from the client, they were all very close. I also looked at the email that we sent to the client right after the contract was signed. The client opened the link to see his contract 65 minutes after the contract was signed and did nothing. Also, the link was open for several minutes. I looked up the client's current billing status. He was 45 days behind. He knew we didn't start charging late fees until 60 days behind, and at 120 days, we would begin litigation and collection account status. I called up the client, and this is how the call went. Hello, this is Luther from ABC. I was told you were accusing my sales rep of forging your signature on the renewal. Yes, I never agreed to pay that much. I never would have. I told him to give me a discount, and I wanted to see it in writing before I signed. And did he give you a discount and show it to you in writing? No, he said he had to go talk to his boss, and I never heard back from him. Okay, and then what happened? Well, y'all kept up the service, and I noticed on my billing it hadn't gone down, but up in cost. And I looked back in my emails and saw the sales rep forge my signature, and that's illegal. Yes, you are right. If the salesperson did forge your signature, that is illegal. Well, good to see that we agree on that. After the contract was signed, regardless if the signature was forged or not, you would have gotten an email with a link to the contract asking you to verify that everything is correct. And if it's not, to let us know within 5 business days. Did you get the email? If you did get the email, did you review the contract? Well, yes, but I was pretty busy and I didn't open the email until recently. I totally get it. We are busy nowadays, so assuming he did forge the signature, what would you consider an acceptable resolution to this? Would you want to end service with no penalty? Would you like a discount? I would want a discount. And what would you consider an acceptable discount? 3 months of free service. Got it. Well, Mr. Client, I've got several problems with your claim that my sales rep forged your signature, and before I fire the salesperson for forgery and offer you a discount, I'd like to see if we can't address those problems. Sounds fair. The signature was captured on our iPads, which records the GPS coordinates of where the signature happened. Per the GPS coordinates, it happened inside your place of business. Well, he knows that, right? Yes, he did. That just means he forged it inside my building. Okay, well, the next issue is that the signature on the renewal contract looked exactly like the previous contracts. He just copied my signature. I know I didn't sign that. Could it be possible someone else in your company signed it? No, everyone here knows I'm the only one that gets to sign those contracts. I understand. The next issue I have with your claim is that the link to the contract that was emailed to you was open 65 minutes after the contract was signed. No, it wasn't. Yes, sir, it was. The reason why we have you click a link to view the signed contract is so we know if you opened the link or not. Not only that, it appears like the link was open for several minutes, which to me would indicate the person who opened the link reviewed the contract. Also, the fact that no one ever responded to the email would indicate to me the person who reviewed the contract was fine. Are you accusing me of lying? Yes, and because of that, I will be canceling your service with us effective immediately. How would you like to pay your current balance? You're canceling my service and you want me to pay? Yes, I want you to pay for the services we provided. I'm not going to pay. If you're not going to pay for the services we provided, I'm going to refer you to our collections department and they will add late fees, and if you don't pay them, they will refer you to our law firm for litigation. We have a contract. You can't just cancel my service. Actually, I can, since I have good reason to believe you're lying about the accusation that my salesperson forged your signature. Everything I have says you signed it. Our contract states that we cancel your contract for being dishonest, and that's what we are going to do. F you, hangs up. I referred the client to collections. He eventually paid them without us having to sue him. Honestly, we probably would have just sold his debt to a collection agency due to the dollar amount not being high enough to be worth it to sue. So you mean to tell me that this client didn't give a rat's butt if a sales rep got fired because they didn't want to pay their bill and wanted a discount? Are you kidding me? I don't blame OP for cutting these guys off right away. Do me a quick favor, have a look down below the video. If that subscribe button's still red, it means you're not actually subscribed to the KCC channel. Please hit that subscribe button for more daily Reddit stories. Our second story today comes to us from Brass Dragon LP. You want the price I told you the first time? Done. Let's jump right in. I work at a family-owned video game store in a big shopping strip at the beach. We're 80% retro stuff, but we always take modern games and consoles because they move quick, especially these days. I'm working my Tuesday opening shift, going as slow as weekday mornings usually do, when one of my favorite regulars, an old gentleman that loves talking movies with me, and a woman, who I'll be referring to as Country Karen due to her accent, came into the store within a minute or so of each other. I say hi to the regular, Country Karen comes to the counter. I tell him I'll be back once I'm done. Regular goes to check out our Blu-ray trades from the weekend. Country Karen starts to explain. She bought 2 Switch lights for her nephews, not realizing they already had a regular Switch in the house. Says the kids lost the receipt, entirely her own fault for giving it to kids, so she can't return it and wants to know what I can do for a cash trade-in. She seems a little frazzled, but I chalk it up to stress and annoyance at her situation, since she explains she just came in from being told no at Target. I take the Switch Lite and take it out of the box. It's about as factory new as it gets, with only a small tear on the box and a few kid-sized fingerprints on the screen I can wipe off. She says she just wants as much money back as she can get at this point. I pull up the trade sheet to double check our trade rates. A Switch Lite retails for $200, we normally sell used ones at $180, and give $100 store credit or $80 cash. Since this Switch Lite is basically factory new with the box, I decide to give her a bit of a deal. Well, normally Switch Lites only trade for $80 cash, but I can do $110 for this because it's a popular color and in really good condition with a box. What? That's so low. GameStop has a promotion and will give me $140 for it. Can't you do any better? Normally, we try to beat GameStop's everything by at least 15%, but being corporate with more employees and less stock per store, they can get specials and promotions done we can't. Plus, we can only match them on trade value for newer consoles due to the little profit we turn taking them at GameStop's prices. I explain this to Country Karen, and she goes from frazzled and a little impatient to, well, a Country Karen. Wow, I thought you guys would be better than GameStop since you're a small business, but if you're going to nickel and dime me, I'll just go to them from now on. I audibly scoff at the woman's rudeness and tell her good luck, perk of working family owned, I don't have to lie down and take crappy behavior. She gives me a nasty look, takes her Switch Lite back, and leaves the store. There's a couple in line behind her with a bag or two of game trades each by this point, so once she's gone, I start helping them. Regular brings up a few of her movie trades, all 4 of us start talking movies while I get the games done. Mornings on weekdays usually aren't too bad, but for some reason I had a huge line of nothing but boxes of trade-ins per person come in while I was helping the first 2 guys out, and I was the only employee in the store that day. I finished the second person's trade and excused myself from the movie talk to focus on powering through the new line of people. I'm about halfway done with the second box of absolute goldmine titles, SNES and Nintendo 64 games when Country Karen returns, looking very unhappy. I put on my best customer service smile and say, "Welcome back." She ignores me, cuts past the rest of the line. "I need to trade this now. I have to pick my nephews up from daycare and need the gas money. GameStop said their promotion is over." Sorry to hear that, but I've got other customers I'm helping right now. You'll have to get in line. I said, "I need to trade this now. They're out soon, and all this running around is going to make me late as it is." I look at the gentleman I'm helping, who shrugs and says he doesn't mind, then at the 4 other people in line with boxes or bags of trades in hand, patiently waiting their turn. The next person in line is watching and giving Country Karen the audacity of this bitch face I've ever seen. Since it's one item and normally only takes a minute, I tell Country Karen fine, I'll ring her through quick. I suspend the current trade, take the light, double check it, then add it into the system and ask Country Karen for her ID, which she loudly sighs about and takes a minute digging through her purse to find. Next guy in line definitely isn't happy with her attitude, makes a comment to the woman he's with that Country Karen and I can't make out. Karen finally finds her ID and hands it over. I enter her info into our customer database, up the trade of the Switch Lite to $110, and tell her the total. Much to my surprise, she balks as if I've just pissed in her morning macchiato and indignantly states, "You told me $139.99 earlier. I want the money you said I'd get the first time I came in here." "No, ma'am, I said $110 because it's—" "No, you told me $139.99. I want the money you said I'd get the first time or there's going to be an issue." That's BS, since every single trade in our store rounds to a whole dollar amount, but Country Karen keeps insisting I told her what I'm assuming was the GameStop promotional trade price. At this point, both I and the next guy in line are done with Country Karen. He loudly sighs and says, "Come on, man," but Country Karen either can't hear him or doesn't care. I, on the other hand, give Country Karen another winning service smile. "Sure, your trade will be $80 cash then." I can see the few brain cells left in Country Karen's wino head trying to process how the value has gone down instead of up. "That's less. I want the money." At this point, she's yelling in the store, so I use my 8+ years of singing bass and church chorus to talk over her without sounding like I'm yelling back. "I told you normally Switch Lites trade for $80 cash, but that I'd cut you a deal for $110. If you want the amount I told you the first time, that's $80. My regular and one of the first 2 trades are still near the till, and they both pipe up to support me and say I did, in fact, give her those numbers. Country Karen, red in the face and realizing her mistake, starts to backpedal. "God, fine, just give me the $110 so I can leave already." "No, ma'am, you were very firm about wanting the first amount, so it'll be $80 cash for the trade." Country Karen looks like she's about to explode before she checks the time on her phone and deflates. "Just give me the effing money." Absolutely. I ring out the transaction for $80, make her sign the receipt saying she agrees to the trade, then loudly count out $80 cash in 20s for her, which she snatches off the counter and storms out the store with, while the guy next in line is bent over a box of games in his arms, laughing his butt off. I love this story because I've used similar lines in the past myself, with a customer coming in and saying, "Hey, I can get so much of a better deal over at this store." "Okay, well then go to that store and get that great deal, because my corporate office isn't going to allow me to match it. Have a nice day, bye-bye." Last story today comes to us from Viva Chuck. "Think about if you want to be employed here?" "Will do, boss." Let's jump right in. So this is from over a decade ago, but it is the only time I've ever quit a job, and thought y'all might enjoy it. I worked for Target on their overnight team 10 p.m. to 6:30 a.m., and eventually a specialist position came up, for which I applied and was granted. This was the position of receiver, scheduled to work 6 a.m. to 2:30 p.m., which basically was the person who would take in vendor orders, not things that were sent straight from corporate, but instead the Coca-Cola guy or the Lay's potato chip guy, etc., and specialty orders that came in at times other than the main truck. This was a job where instead of one major task, you dealt with about 20 minor ones throughout the day, and your day varied based on the whims of the people who are bringing things into you. We had a delivery cutoff of 12 p.m., but management would always say just take things no matter when they came. I generally was really good about managing my time and making sure if I needed to stay late for something important, I did, and if it was something minor, say the Harlequin romance books that could wait overnight to process, I'd get it first thing in the morning. I had a good rapport with my boss and I got great reviews. Then my boss got a promotion and my new boss was a piece of crap. The new boss, we can call him John because that was his name, F you John, was a tyrant of the pettiest type. He'd wonder why things were left overnight when I wasn't busy earlier in the day when he saw me because I'd completed all my tasks and I can't make UPS come faster than they do. When Target's corporate told my department it was busy enough for a 20-hour-a-week worker, he refused to let me get anyone for longer than my 30-minute lunch breaks. The straw that broke my back was P-Fresh. For those of you who didn't work at Target in the early 2000s, P-Fresh is what they called their new initiative to have groceries in the stores. It was a big deal for them, and my store was one of the pilot stores in our area. I would be the first person to have to deal with it, and then I would have to teach receivers in the area how it works by having them shadow me for a day at my store and me at theirs when they got their fresh food. The fresh food came in a separate truck that arrived at 4 a.m. I expected, like I was informed, I would simply have to process it first thing in the morning when I got to work. Instead, John decided that my schedule was going to be changed to 4 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Getting up at 3 a.m. to be at work at 4 a.m. was not fun, but I dealt with it because I was a team player. However, John still insisted I needed all of my work done by the time I left at 12:30 p.m., an impossibility when the cutoff for deliveries was 12 p.m. I still prioritized things as good as I could, and nothing urgent was left undone for more than 24 hours, when Target was pretty good at making sure we had plenty of time to receive things before they had to hit the floor for street dates and such. The straw that broke my back was when the specialist position was terminated. Basically, Target wanted those special positions in the normal chain of command, which is fine. However, when they did this, they also gave lots of power to John. You see, it was in my old position that I had weekends off because people don't deliver on the weekends, and was not required to work holidays, along with being guaranteed 40 hours a week Monday to Friday position. When this change came through, HR informed us that we had a week to decide whether we wanted the position, or if we wanted to go to another position in the company, or if we wanted severance. HR informed me that nothing would really be changing with my job because it was still important, whereas other jobs like the jewelry counter weren't considered as important and were being rolled in with other things. I was going to stay with the position until John brought me into the office later that day. He told me he was tired of my poor attitude involving getting things done, so he was changing my schedule to a split shift. Basically, he wanted me to come in from 4 to 5 a.m., then go home for an hour, then come back at 6 a.m. and work until 1:30 p.m. He also told me that any overtime would no longer be allowed, and that I'd have to start working one weekend a month and holidays. He also wrote me up for something that I did not do, but the person who covered my lunches did, under the guise of me not training them properly. His words were, "You need to think long and hard about how you are working, and think about if you want to be employed here in a month." I told him he was absolutely right. I told him I would be right back. I had to run to the restroom. Instead, I went to HR and told them I'm taking the severance, and as it was 12:25 p.m., I'm guessing this is my last day. I then got to go back to John and tell him what I just said. He told me that I had to come back next week to train my replacement. I walked out of that building happier than I had been in the last 3 years working there. I got texts over the next few months of the fallout. The receiving department was an effing nightmare for months, and since I was the only one who knew how to handle their refrigerated trucks, they lost an entire truck worth of merchandise that week. That was not a good look for them. Additionally, corporate had to send out people from out of the area to cover all of the training I was supposed to provide, which cost them a lot of money and made corporate even more pissed at John. Last I heard, he had been let go, and the next place he worked fired him for sexual harassment. I had a month's vacation where I got totally prepared for WoW Cataclysm, and then I took a new job. I was happy as a clam. So OP went in and told them they were taking a new job, they'd taken the severance, and they were leaving, but they still wanted you to train the new employees? Did they even hear what you said? It might have been the opportunity to come back and say, well, hey, I'll come on as a contractor if you pay me double what you did before. Check out all 3 OPs and the links in the description down below. Thanks for listening. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.